to the Better World Humans podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming on. So, getting started, what is the Boys and Girls Club and what is the mission of it?
What is the Boys and Girls Club is actually a worldwide movement, is what we call ourselves, but it's essentially it's a place for youth, from school-age youth. So for us, that means first grade through till they graduate high school, primarily for when school's out or when they don't have places to be, that they have a safe, substantive place to come and develop and become their best selves. So to put that succinctly is we're the place kids go when school's out. So summertime, obviously a lot more hours in the day that kids are going unsupervised. During school, they're going to be going to school during the day typically, and then after school come to the Boys and Girls Club.
Awesome. And so what program specifically does the Boys and Girls Club, provide so kids can become their best selves?
Yeah, so we really pride ourselves on being a place that we kind of touch on 3 areas of their lives, and we try to really drive that. So first being academic success. So we want to make sure that these kids are getting not only the chance to practice those skills, but also the encouragement to continue developing their academic skills, because learning and what you do with your mind is the 21st century forwards job market. Like, if you aren't using your mind, you're not going to be able to be successful in any field, but especially going into the future, where a lot of those jobs, like perhaps working in a car factory or some other things that provided living wages and were really viable jobs 50, 60 years ago, unfortunately those aren't as available. So academic success is a big one. Next is character development. We really want to make sure that these kids are developing their best selves and understand that, to be a good person, to be your best self, requires that you carry yourself in a way that you show respect to others, you take responsibility for your actions, and that you have the integrity to do the right thing even if no one's around, right? And finally, healthy lifestyles. We really want kids to understand that there's so much in their life that they can accomplish if they're taking good care of the vehicle, their body, during that time, and making decisions that are commensurate with that. So a healthy lifestyle could be, hey, I could stay up late, not get a lot of sleep, and eat junk food and take that test tomorrow. Or I could study, get to bed, have a good breakfast, go take that test. The likely outcomes of those could be very different, especially over a long period of time if you're practicing that healthy lifestyle. So we feed hungry kids, which is a huge thing, because a hungry kid is one that can't focus on anything else. They are hungry. So that's part of a healthy lifestyle, is making sure kids eat. But then after that is they need physical exercise. They're young, they're vibrant, they need that exercise, they need that time to move. And then also learning about healthy eating, healthy behaviors, which all of that, the academic support, the character development, the healthy lifestyle could be summarized in, we're helping kids develop their mind, their body, and their spirit to become their best.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like, it's like starting the foundation of building great habits for them to, be successful going on into the future. And you've been in Boys and Girls Clubs and youth development for the last 14 years, starting in Treasure Valley, and now you're here at the Boys and Girls Club of Emerald Valley. And how have you seen your perspective changed on youth development in general?
I love the valleys, apparently, right? Yeah. A lot of valleys. I think it's changed in so much as that to me, what's always been fascinating, I studied history in college and I've always been a fan growing up. The human condition, as far as what it means to be and experience being a human being, I don't believe has changed that much. It's just the physical means surrounding it, right? So maybe, this is a bad stereotype, but let's say the Greeks, they're all in togas and, they're doing their thing. Fast forward to now, we've got cell phones and Zoom and all these other neat devices. But as far as the crux, the core of what it is to be a human, the pain and suffering that can come with it, the joys, the highs, the greatness that comes with love and all those great things, and some of the suffering that can happen, that is still intrinsically there. And so with my work at Boys and Girls Club, I've always been a big believer in doing things as a preventative earlier, right? Like, what can we do today that will bear fruit tomorrow? So my dad happened to work for Department of Corrections his entire career. And they warehoused human beings who had committed crimes and now are going to spend time in prison until their service or time is up and then out. And to me, my dad would always talk about how many millions of dollars were being spent on that. And I was just like, gosh, that is insane. And so for me to have stumbled into Boys and Girls Club, because I didn't I wasn't born as like, I'm going to work for Boys and Girls Club. But as I came into it and learned about it, the more I realized it resonated with me, because it's about helping folks earlier get to a position to recognize I'm a major player in my own life. I have all these great opportunities in front of me, especially if you live in the United States. I have all these great opportunities available to me. And how can I take advantage of that and really work to my advantage to not only help myself, but help my larger community? And I really think the Boys and Girls Club is such a great vehicle for that, because if we wait until kids are completely broken and no longer have that vitality and that belief and that will to persevere when times are tough, because like I said, times are tough. It's like the human condition. It's not when life's going to kick you in the butt, it's how often is it going to kick you in the butt, right? And so having people that have a belief, I believe that I can overcome the challenges that are set in front of me because I have a will, I have a why to live. Viktor Frankl has a book, The Meaning of Life, and he really touches on that. You need to have that moment between you're getting kind of pinged, the world saying something needs to happen, and your response to it. And how are you going to respond to it? You're going to respond in a way. And I really think the club, in its own right, with people like yourself, who you happen to be a youth development professional here, much like water to a stone, it's a bit by bit that they're getting those impressions from folks to try to learn that skill, because it's a skill that you have to practice every day and you have to relearn it frequently. And so that's really, over my whole time with the Boys and Girls Club, is my belief in the importance of that in the lives and success of human beings, no matter where they come from, their walk of life. That is the big, to me, in my opinion, the big differential between those folks that see success continually from outside. Wow, they're just so successful, versus really what's going on there is you have a human being that is learning to deal with what life throws at them and kind of continue forward and persevere even when it's very hard, So that to me is what I've learned from my time in the Boys and Girls Club so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, I hear you talk about the DOC and kind of almost like a reactive, punishment for people and what they're doing. And the Boys and Girls Club is trying to be proactive and get out before, some of these bad behaviors really start escalating into harming society. And so it's about, working with our youth to become, respectful and kind citizens. And I'm just curious what community partners, especially here at the Boys and Girls Club of Emerald Valley, have really helped shape, this club, and how would, the club be able to operate, or how does the club operate with those community partners?
Put shortly, without community partnerships, the club would not exist. This enterprise could not happen without community partners. So we have the city of Eugene gives us this space to operate in. So the Westmoreland, formerly Westmoreland, now the Coleman Community Center, which we operate out of, is gifted to us from the city. So right out of the gate, our facility we're operating out of, thank you City of Eugene for being such a great partner and believing in the needs of vulnerable kids, right? 4J School District, they not only provide us meals, hot meals for that food need that these kids have, but then they also, most recently during COVID, with our transitioning into a more academic support role with school not being open, they lent us desks, they have lent us advice and counsel. We've worked with United Way has been a huge partner, and they're making a huge investment in our organization to sustain this COVID operations where we're open 9.5 hours a day, doing academic support, providing enrichment, all those things. To board members. I mean, we have a 12-person board that all of them are community members that donate their time and energy to help lead and guide this organization. Who else? We just recently had Selco Community Credit Union. There we go. Sorry, I can say that, I promise. They recently made an investment, and to them they would say, oh, it's just a small investment. But to us, it meant the world. Is that they invested $5,000, which then allowed us to go hire tech professionals to get this building up to speed for the tech needs that were coming with this change in school operations. And for us, it was a game changer, because I went from, oh my gosh, what do we need to do? How are we going to, pencil this out when we already got all these other expenses, to we got a solution. So those community partners every step of the way. We also are partnering with the School Garden Project to do enrichment for the kids. We have U of O volunteers coming in here and doing tutoring. I mean, the list goes on, and it truly is one of those things that without that partnership and without those people looking out to help one another, none of this work would happen.
That's awesome. And, community partners really, earlier I actually interviewed Bev Smith at Kids Sports, and she was talking about how, it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to make things happen, and COVID has thrown everything, or just made everything so much more difficult. And how has the Boys and Girls Club here in Emerald Valley adapted, pivoted to change its services and meet the needs?
Yeah, no, it's been a huge lift. It's been a big transition. We typically pride ourselves on giving kids a lot of freedom of choice within the building, which means, if they want to go to the gym for this activity and then after that they choose to go somewhere else, they kind of have that freedom. We had to really par that down to where now kids need to be in kind of static cohorts with the same kiddos so that they're not potentially exposing one another to any more opportunity to get ill than necessary. Obviously masks, a lot of hand washing. We have a hand washing station in the entry, and we're open now 9.5 hours. We're typically during this season of the year, during the school year, we would only be open 4 hours a day. So you take that, expand your day by double plus, you have all these new rules, and we have to be a lot more focused on, okay, what does the schooling require? That means sitting in front of a screen with your teacher via Zoom for the students with all the different ranges of attitude and ability, trying to learn through a virtual portal, which for me, even as an adult, I get bored and tired of Zoom, right? I get exhausted by it. So you have a 6-year-old boy who's got a lot of energy and wants to move being asked to do that. So we're growing with them, and our staff are growing with them and learning how best to facilitate this process. And I think we're doing a phenomenal job. And I don't say that because I'm served here at the Boys and Girls Club. I'm so proud of the human beings. There's over 28 of us collectively, all putting our heart and soul into helping these 70 kids we're currently serving make it through this, and make it through in a way that's it's helpful and meaningful, not just, hey, we're here to do a job, get it done and get out. I mean, we're all putting in a lot of our own emotional energy into trying to figure out how do we navigate this, and we're doing it together. And we're doing it for families that are extremely vulnerable, in extreme need of these services, because they have to physically report to work and not be home to do that. And so for us to be able to stand up and say, we will make sure your kiddo makes it to class, we will make sure your kiddo gets food, we will make sure that your kiddo gets this, for a parent, which I'm a parent, that is a huge burden to have lifted and have that partnership. So we've adapted tremendously, and it will continue. And what's interesting, much like life, you never arrive. And COVID's proven that you as soon as you kind of think you got something kind of figured out, go, oh, new rule, change, whatever, that's one of the things I'm proud of. We're a very flexible unit that's attuned to what do these kids need. That's how we make our decisions. That's our compass. What is best for the kids? And then how do we meet that need best we can with the rules that are provided to us? And that's a neat thing because that's a mission-driven work. And to me, it makes it easy because we have mission-driven people here. And the solutions oftentimes bubble up. People say, yes, that's the right choice. And we figure it out and we move forward. So,
yeah, and I completely agree. And it's challenging work, but it's really rewarding. And you've touched on it a little bit, but I'm just curious, why is it so important for the Boys and Girls Club to exist here and in this time of COVID-19 to serve for these families that really need it?
I think the biggest reason is that the space that we fill for this community is that we often are serving what I would say is those families that are trying to really play the game, but they're at such an end of the spectrum of the game that their earning power and their ability to pay for services that they may need is really not commensurate with the price point. So the average fee that would be needed for all-day care for a child is going to be upwards of $700 a month for most of the providers in our community. Myself, with 2 children, that is $1,400 a month that I would be paying for my son's childcare. And I feel that I have been blessed with a very fair salary and a very, fair compensation. And I know for a fact that many of our families are living under constraints that would be considered poverty. $30,000 or less for a family of 4. I mean, it is very difficult circumstances. And so we're trying to serve those families that are still going to work. They're still trying to be contributing awesome members, and they are, and not just trying, they are. They're amazing people that are doing amazing things. But with that, it's challenging to get the help you need, right? If you're having to pay that much, it's so all of a sudden, it's you're trying to play by the rules. You're trying to have a job, but you're not quite able to get it all done. And so then you have to make really hard decisions, which are, is it better to not work and just have the kids with me under COVID especially? But I think in the end is that we are stepping up and making space where we say, yes, we will figure out the board and the sponsors and the donors and the people that help. We're going to backfill that real price point and keep it to where your out of pocket expense is not what's going to sink your battleship. And that's a big deal. So if we're only charging $40 for a school year membership, right? The actual cost to help a child for a full year under typical Boys and Girls Club experience, you're looking upwards of $1,500 a year. But we're not going to put that on the backs of the families. We say, you invest the $40, we will find the rest, right? And so to me, it's about equity. It's about fighting for the little guy. It's about saying, look, you all need some help. This community believes in helping folks, and the folks that invest in this place, be it donors, grantors, whatever, volunteers, they're the reason this can happen, right? Is it takes this culmination of people saying, we're going to make space for this to happen, with the city donating the building so that we're not paying rent every month, to try to keep the roof over our head so we can provide these services. So it's really, to me, it's the story of, we have folks that have the means to kind of make things happen for themselves, and that's wonderful. And we have folks that are really, really hurting bad, like they have a lot of resources being available to them. But there's this group, they don't have enough to really pave the way for themselves, but they also aren't so hard up that they have all these resources. They're in this very dangerous space. They actually call it ALICE families, is the official term, which stands for assets limited, income constrained, but employed. So what it means is basically you're doing everything you can, but if you're working 30 hours a week at minimum wage and you have a family of 4 to support, mathematically that becomes very difficult to do, right? And that to me is where my heart aches, and I work so hard to help those families, is because those are the families that I feel like this is that chance to kind of give them a leg up to then be able to go on as their careers progress, as their kids grow up, to be able to say, thanks to the club providing me that financial space where I wasn't having to drop thousands of dollars on my child's care, and they're getting phenomenal care, they're getting great support for their homework, they're getting fed, they're having fun, they enjoy it. Thanks to that, our family was able to weather this storm. I now am in a better position. And I've heard that story millions and millions of times from various families where they're like, the club was a godsend. We were in a really hard way, but you guys provide this phenomenal service. Our kids have such a good time there, and our family was able to not have this be a strain, but actually was something that was like joyous for our family to have our kids go there. They were learning great things. They were meeting great staff, and we were able to, put our resources in other things that we needed to as a family. So to me, that's the space that I feel that we really own in our community, and I think it's a great space to occupy.
Yeah, that's inspiring, and I think that's what has really brought me to the mission, and being a youth development professional for on and off for the past few years. That's why I do it, is to provide that equity for the children that need it the most, so that way they can be successful citizens and weather that storm that they're going through. And my last question for you will be, for those that are listening right now, what could they possibly do? Are they able to volunteer, or what other ways are they able to support the club?
Sure. Under COVID, it's a little bit more tenuous, but I would say, one, sharing good words about organizations like Boys and Girls Club goes a long way. I call it the energy, like just sharing good energy. Like if someone goes, hey, I see the Boys and Girls Club's doing that. I've heard it's kind of sketchy or something, right? There's someone else that knows otherwise would say, no, I know about the club. I know Justin who works there, or I listen to this podcast. They do really neat things. You should look into it more. Don't, because that goes a long ways in a community. Even though Eugene's not small, it is small. It's a smaller community, and we as an organization are kind of in a growth phase right now, where we've been inconsistent in accomplishing and maybe fulfilling our mission consistently. And having those kind words and people knowing and believing the work that's happening at the club is good, and I want to help cheer that on and support that, is huge. You have your typical means, donations, be it gently used sports equipment, or board games, or art projects, or straight out cash donations, right? Like, hey, I want to write a check and I want to support that work. Volunteering, we have to be a little bit more temperamental on because of the number of people in the building and things like that, but that is an option, but one that is going to be a lot less available currently. But in the end, that kind words and belief in the mission here and trying to help share, I think important work and great work is happening at the Boys and Girls Club. I think they're providing equity. Sharing that message and getting out there actually, in my opinion, is by far the best thing a person could do if they truly believe it too. I don't want it to just be lip service. I want someone, if they feel like, hey, I want to learn more, to contact us, and I'd be happy to spend some time answering questions or at least try to fulfill that. But I can say is that when I walk through and I see classroom of 20 kids, another classroom of 20 kids, a classroom of 15 kids, a classroom of 15 kids, and the heart and soul that the staff like yourself are putting into helping these kids, and the smiles on their faces and the laughter and the joy that you experience in this building, that is only happening because the Boys and Girls Club is here, and I'm extremely proud to be a part of it. And I think that it's a neat thing that if other folks could see for themselves, that they would feel equally passionate about. This is a great thing that's happening here.
Absolutely. That's a great message to leave off on, and I'm very proud to be here as well. Thank you so much for your time, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.